Hello and welcome to Political Breakdown, 23rd of March at the moment. Still not allowed out to do it with people. Today I've got two, maybe three stories I think are actually worth looking at. Trying not to talk about the coronavirus, of course, because it's just enough, isn't it? Everyone is just dealing with the same shit every day, and I swear to you now, that if this continues for another year, because people can't stay the fuck away from Skegness, then we should kill them all. It is fucking the selfishness of these arseholes who are going along, because we're being told advice like it's okay to go for a hike, it's good and healthy for you, but it turns out what we should say is only if you live somewhere where you can hike. That doesn't mean that you should go for a hike by going on holiday, you stupid walnut. Right, news stories. As I say, only two or three today. So the first one is that yesterday, the 22nd of March, was World Water Day, and to mark it, experts warned that due to decades of chronic underfunding of water infrastructure, many countries are under worse risk than with the coronavirus. So I've always looked to try to go slightly darker than what's actually happening in the world. And if you think coronavirus is bad, not everyone has water. This is where we're at the moment. And don't forget, water is one of those things that we all think should be free. I don't think there is anyone, unless you run Nestle, who actually believes that it should be free. They believe it shouldn't be free. Everyone else believes that it should be free. And it's not. Water is one of those that we know isn't free. The idea that there is a tax on water, of course there's a tax on water to keep the infrastructure going, but we do not put as much money into infrastructure, especially in developing countries. So what we're finding in developing countries is you've got 2/3, I believe it is, you've got 2/3 of people, no, 3/4. 3/4 of households in developing countries do not have access to somewhere to wash with soap and water, which, as I said, I don't want to dwell on the coronavirus because it's a continuation. The coronavirus is just allowing me to realise just how much I actually require self-isolation as a way to sort out some thoughts. And what I've learned is I do not like being alone for this amount of time. I like gigging. I like seeing social interaction maybe once a week, saying hello to someone. It's been an age since I've called someone a cunt to their face, and that is affecting me something rotten. The level of depression that as a comedian you get from not gigging, not getting that buzz, is a real thing, and there's going to be a lot of creative people whose only outlet is going to be things like talking to their fucking phone like a knobber, and it's not going to have the same effect, and they're going to get, and then potentially will get rusty as well. But we're talking about people dying from not having enough water, aren't we? With the thing with the not having access to be able to just clean for soap and water, that with the coronavirus is going to keep it spreading. Because what are the things we're told? Wash your hands for 20 seconds, wash your hands for 20 seconds, wash your hands for 20 seconds. If you can't wash your hands, if you don't have access to soap and water, then how the fuck are you going to be able to do it? And on top of that, you've got, I think it's 1/4. You've got of the healthcare, you've got 1/3. That's where I got the 2/3 from earlier. I was remembering the figures. You've got 1/3 of all healthcare facilities in developing countries who do not have access who have a lack of access to clean water on site. So this is where we are, because what we're looking at is people do not put enough money into the water infrastructure because we never talk about the economic benefits of having healthy people, which is mad. If you consider it, you consider that at no point do you ever think healthy people equal more money, because we have to look at everything at the moment as what value a human can bring, because that's where the world is what's the value of human life. And what we want is for people to be healthy so they can work, so they can pay tax, so they can afford things, so they can pay for things, so they can buy stuff, so that they get into probably more debt, so the government can have an easier ride. That's what we're looking for, really. Just get enough people into enough debt so that they end up killing themselves and then don't have to find any way to pay that money back. That's all that capitalism is, really. Rich people get rich, poor people get fucked. In the middle, it depends on what day it is. But that's all of that for that. You've got Richard Connor, who is the editor-in-chief of the UN World Water Development Report, said exactly that water is overlooked for spending because of the economic benefits of better water and sanitation are not emphasised. But according to evidence, a global average benefit cost ratio of 5.5 for improved sanitation and 2 for improved drinking water. If you want to do it just as a pure selfish reason for governments to actually look after their people, it's because healthy people earn more money, pay more, will actually give more money to the government. It's simple, it's easy. And unfortunately, I don't want to have to think like this. I don't think that people should have a value on their life, but that's what we do. All you need to do is look at the time value. It's easy to work out what the value of someone's time is from what they're paid hourly. That is the value of your time. That is what you consider and what the world considers that you're worth per hour. So you have to, it's not a big number. I mean, what the average in the country, something like £8, maybe £8.50, £9 type of area. That's what you're worth an hour of your time. That is the average of what your actual worth is. So you have to see about that. You'll know whether or not you're wasting your time, whether how much you've got in your pocket by the end of it. Incredibly depressing, but quite right. And also in regards to climate change, if we find better ways of, if we actually treat all of the sewage, because especially in developing countries, not all the sewage is treated. And so with all of the untreated sewage going out, all the wastewater going out into the open, that is actually bringing more problems for the climate. So if we spent more money on sewage treatments so that more water was going out clean, it would actually be better for the environment. There should never have to be an argument for you to make to say, hey, water, it's good. But that's where we are. It's madness. And we've got fucking people on the other side. This is the thing. I live in East London, and we have Victoria Park. Just over the weekend, there are tons of people in there. What are you in Victoria Park for? What the fuck are you doing? There's like a market, and I understand, like the flower market, Columbia Road Flower Market. I understand that these self-employed people, they require to be out because they don't know what the government's going to do. £94 a week ain't going to feed a family of 4. I ain't probably going to deal with number one, just one person, because they've got rent to pay for and everything else. £94 ain't going to do it, so they have to go out. They have to go out, put up their stall, and hope to God that there's enough ignorant knobheads who are going to go out and think, you know what I really need in this isolation? A tulip. Anyway, next story. BBC. There we are. The BBC has been asked to clarify if any efforts are being made to deliberately invite or attract members of far-right groups to the Question Time audience. Now, this is being done by Baroness Wazi and Labour MP Debbie Abrahams, who are now the co-chairs of the all-new parliamentary group Compassion in Politics. Compassion in Politics is a lovely idea, but it's a fallacy, isn't it? We've known this for the past ever. There is no compassion in politics. The people who go into politics, they may want to go in there to say, let's help everyone, but the moment that they realise that they've got 5 years to do something, to pretend to care about some knobhead's wall or the reason that you can't walk left down this road anymore, they realise that all they have to do is trick people for 6 months of the year. That's all that the budgets are before an election, is that little 6 months of going, look what we've done nice for you. Sure, we've screwed you over for the previous 4.5, but look how nice we've been now. We fall for it over and over. And if you want compassion in politics, it has to start from politicians. You have to shit downwards. Think of it like trickle-down economy, but actually working. If you want everyone to be compassionate, then you have to stop being lying, manipulative, awful, evidence-lacking shitstones. If you manage that, then wonderful. If you don't, you can't go around and start saying, we need more compassion, stop fucking wanking over the far right BBC, which they seem to do, but Question Time in itself is a pointless entity. You never gain anything from Question Time. All you get is people congratulating themselves. It's like a big old back patting, like circle jerk. What a weird thing to do. Some inane wanker asks some of the most bollard pointless question that's normally done on anecdotal evidence at best, normally by a racist, so you find out it's someone who once wanked over Jeremy Corbyn, so only likes him anymore. I was seeing a picture of Jeremy Corbyn the first time they were on a horse that broke their hymen, so they think that secretly Jeremy Corbyn gave them their first fucking orgasm. Oh, they're all useless fucks. Question Time should be stopped. And the final one is interesting because it's about the gambling firms. The gambling firms have fallen out of their arse, and this I'm going to leave this more on a question for yourself to think about more than anything I'm going to say here. Now, gambling firms, they've all had fallen out of their holes, all their share prices, because no sports and no one's putting any money. Now, gambling firms, they have 90,000. They look after about 90,000 jobs in the gambling industry. With gambling being ethically dodgy, shall we say, or how they do it anyway. Got no qualms with gambling in itself. Go a game of poker, got no qualms with that. Even putting like an accumulator and stuff like this. It's the idea of gamble responsibly and all of this, and how they've attempted to make it seem like they actually care, where they're giving you the idea of gamble responsibly in the same way that a hostage says that they're being treated fine. It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like everything else that's going on says that they actually care about how well you're doing. And with the slot machines, the £2 roulette wheels in bookies and all of this stuff helping to grow gambling addiction in this country, we have to, it's an interesting question of whether or not we should look to help the gambling industry, because 90,000 jobs, don't forget, and they'll potentially look at things like getting people to gamble on esports going forward, stuff like this. So just anything to put a fucking bet on. But where would you stand on getting rid of 90,000 jobs to get rid of a toxic industry like the gambling industry? Or do you think it is better to keep them going and keep gambling going, maybe regulate a bit more, just so we can keep the jobs? It's an interesting thing, certainly something to think about, isn't it? Well, hope you all stay safe. Fuck them all. Have a good one.